everybody. Welcome to another episode of What a Hell of a Way to Dad. It is Francis and Nate. Nate, how are you doing, man? I've taken a new step to fatherhood.
What's that?
I bought a minivan.
I mean, they're practical, man. One time I did a TaskRabbit thing in New York to pick up some furniture, and I thought a guy would have like a truck or a moving van. He showed up in a minivan, but he'd taken some of the seats out and folded the other ones down. And like, man, you fit the whole great big ass bunch of boxes in that thing. I was really impressed.
Yeah, we got ourselves a 2001 Chrysler Pacifica. It's a plug-in hybrid. So the cool thing is that it came with a $4,000 tax credit.
Wait, 2021, right?
2021, yeah.
I was going to say, because if you'd bought a 24-year-old minivan, I'd be pretty shocked if they had plug-in hybrids back then, because I think the Prius was the only thing even close. But secondly, I mean, you know what? If it's a good deal, but like a 24-year-old minivan would be like, all right, $500, and does the air blow cold? That's all you can really do, you know?
Well, do you remember like the luxury vans that were like the luxury vans of the 90s, where it would be
like the conversion really vans?
Yeah, big plush interior. You had a Super Nintendo hooked up in the back, really comfortable seats, but also anybody who owned them constantly smoked inside of them. That's what I really wanted something like that. They don't make anything like a conversion van anymore, probably because it was did not get very good gas mileage back then. But yeah, we got this nice little plug-in hybrid minivan, and the reason we wanted to get it is because we want to do road trips, and the car that we had that could do distance, like our gas car, this is old and not comfortable. So we upgraded to a minivan, and we're looking forward. We've got a trip to Chicago coming up in like 10 days, I think. So it's going to be our first time taking it out on the road and driving around in it. But yeah, I don't know. Minivans was never something that I was resisting. I never had a problem with a minivan. I just didn't think that we needed one. But this car also will allow us, because, you know, we do in-person events and we sell stuff. And this way we can fit everything into the van and then also fit ourselves. Because it used to be, I would just get into our station wagon that we had, the Elantra Touring, which is a, not the big, not the big wood panel station wagons that you remember from back in the day that you could fit 6 kids in the back and they would all die if you got into a rear ender. So we had that, but I couldn't fit the family into it. I can only fit the stuff into it. Now we finally fit everything into one thing. It's pretty nice. Another big chunk of debt added to the pile, but I think this is a really good purchase that we made. So
yeah,
this all works out.
I got my driver's license here. I think I told you that. I haven't really started car shopping yet because there's a million other things I need to do. But I've joked in the past, like I'm probably going to have to pay cash for a car because just getting loans, financing, it's made more complicated if you're an American. And it's just because being an American requires certain disclosures. I think we've talked about this before, that violate Swiss banking privacy laws. And so while there are ways around it for banks to have American clients, it's annoying. And so stuff like credit card, car debt, investment things, retirement shit, like there's a lot of stuff that just made more complicated if you're an American. And so, I mean, it's possible, but like realistically speaking, it's probably much more likely to just pay cash. So I don't really want to, but I mean, I'm just going to have to look for something that's not stupid expensive. And I've joked in the past about getting a Renault Twingo. I don't know if you've ever seen them before. Renault is a French car company.
I know. Is it like Renault? Renault.
Yeah, Renault is how you say it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And do they sell them in America? Like, that's the thing. Like, I can't even imagine someone even being able to call it Renault because like there isn't a fucking Renault deal. Like no one sells them in America. Like they've never been, I don't think, except for like maybe weird ass people who import them. Because I mean, France drives on the same side as America, so like you could maybe even pay for it. There's the what is it? The Citroën.
Yeah, the Citroën. Yeah, I know the Citroën.
What they call deux chevaux, like the 2CV, that one. But yeah, so it's Twingo. So it's one letter away from being a twink, and it's basically it's just like a mini car, like it's not quite a smart car, but it's what the
it's cute. It's called I know this car, yeah,
city car. But they're famously like they're pretty good. I mean, Renaults in general aren't bad, but like they're like a lot of European cars are more or less built on the same platforms across the board. So if you buy a Volkswagen, or if you buy a Renault or a Seat or a Peugeot or a Citroën or a Skoda or Dacia, a ton of these brands, like a lot of them are built on either either the Volkswagen chassis or the Opel chassis and stuff like that. So there's a, like there's not a huge amount of variety. There used to be a little more. One that I actually liked, but I don't think I would be able to find it like new enough to be reliable and also in an automatic, because Cynthia doesn't want to get a manual car, is a Fiat Panda. But I've also heard a lot of horror stories about Fiat engineering, but I mean, who knows?
The Twingo, I just want to say the Twingo is a name that's a portmanteau of twist, swing, and tango. So that's what you're doing inside of this car. You're Twingo.
Well, I mean, I had a what's it called? A Daewoo Matiz when I lived in Korea. That's like a very small car. So, I mean, you can get by, man. They work.
They got an electric version now.
Yeah, there's an electric Twingo. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really had, I mean, like, dude, French, there's weird shit that it's really hard to explain, but something that French marketing copy and stuff they love to do is kind of jam two words together. It's oftentimes, especially if they're loan words like English words.
Yeah, it's weird that it's a portmanteau of English words that they're creating here.
Or they sound like a pun in French. I think I've told you this before, that there's a chain of barbershops in Geneva, and I think it's supposed to be I have no idea if it's supposed to be Barber or Berber, because people, North African people, like people from Algeria, like there's Berber ancestry and stuff, but it's BERB apostrophe HAIR, so Berber, but that would have to be Berber, like the Kabyle, like people in Algeria. But to me, I see it as just Berb hair, and it's like, it's weird. And I mean, the one that I found the funniest was the body modification piercing and tattoo shop here called, it's supposed to be tribal, like tribal, but it's tribe hole, and it's like, that just sounds fucked up, man. I can't handle it.
It's when I get tribal around my butthole.
Yeah, the tribe hole. I don't really need a car except for like a few tasks here and there. So I haven't really, I mean, now that I have my license, I just haven't, the only thing I could really see like being willing to deal with a parking spot in this building and then getting the car and all that stuff and insurance is just like when there's like medical shit, like when it's necessary, as we experienced last time, it's much nicer, or like on days when the weather is awful or there's like some public transit nightmare, to be able to take my daughter a place fast could be helpful. Like you will find yourself in situations, because this is a small city, where it would take you like 45 minutes on public transit because there's like something's jammed up or it's rush hour and it's like 10 minutes to drive. So they're like, it's kind of hard for something to be more than 20 minutes away by car anywhere here, unless there's like a huge traffic jam. So I've thought about it, but yeah, man, I was laughing too, because you were talking about buying it, and I thought about an old ass car, and then I thought about, have you ever seen that ad? It was a while back. It would have been like 2017, where a guy was selling, it was in Florida, a guy was selling an old Oldsmobile, and he had like a Craigslist listing for it. Did you remember this?
I mean, I've seen lots of Oldsmobile,
but the commentary Craigslist, is what I'm saying, is the commentary on the actual ad itself. So this is what,
I don't think I remember this one.
So it's a guy, he says a 2002 Oldsmobile Alero, and he had all the photos. It was a Facebook post, actually. I thought it was Craigslist, right? He says, nothing special or pretty about this car. 200,000 miles. Rust on the side. I even zoomed in on the rust so you can see it. This car runs and drives. The air blows cold and it has a CD player. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Don't bring your ass down here saying it looks different in the pic so you didn't know that it had that much rust. I'm telling you right now, this bitch rusty. This shit is $900. You're getting $900 worth of car. Don't ask me about the check engine light or this light or that light. It's $900. It's going to be some lights on in this motherfucker. As is. Don't bring this shit back for nothing. It has 200,000 plus miles. You damn right you can find something wrong with it, but as far as now, it cranks, steers and drives, blows cold ass air, and won't leave your pocket spare. This will get you from A to B. Just don't try to make it to C. This car will last you at least all of spring 2017.
What else can you ask for, really?
Yeah,
I bought a $700 car. It lasted me for about 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be some lights on in this motherfucker. It's like a thing that that line has been in my head for, well, since that post came out 8 years ago. Yeah, like it's just, I hear like the car market in general, you definitely see some wild stuff at the extremes. Like for all of you can get on the Auto Trader thing, and like for all of the sort of Switzerland luxury wealthy country shit about like like exotic cars and stuff and supercars. I mean, yeah, you will see that, but really what you see the most of is just ads for like Audis and BMWs that are really expensive, and Mercedes that I just don't want to drive. Like they're too much car for me. They're too expensive. Why would I want to get something with like leather seats and when I've got a little kid? Mercedes, like Mercedes actually makes a really cool hatchback, but all of the new Mercedes design looks like something between like I don't know, like mashing up like the Rocket Man aesthetic and just like what a drug dealer would drive. Like it's like what if you did like a gaming CPU lights on the aesthetic from the Rocket Man? And it's like, I've made the comment in the past that every time I've seen a Mercedes from the outside, they look cool. And the new ones, every time I look inside one, it's like, oh, this is designed to impress the guy sitting in your back seat buying cocaine from you. Like it's just, I mean, I guess the Mercedes knows its market, but like, I don't want any of that. What I do find though, I will say, is that there's more Chinese cars here than in America for sure, but also like there aren't as many in Britain either.
Can you get a Hilux?
Well, I think the thing about a Hilux is I've only ever seen them sold in Australia, I guess in the Emirates. I can't remember what side they drive on in the Emirates. I'm tired and I'm old, but in Australia, obviously with it being the steering wheel, or you drive on the left side of the road, the steering wheel's on the right side of the car. Like I wouldn't want to deal with that shit here. I've just spent so much time dealing with driving on the wrong side of the road. Now I finally get to go back to it being normal, and I really don't want to have to deal with it anymore.
I thought Hiluxes, because it's like only England drives on the wrong side of the road, and I mean most of Europe drives like America though, right?
Almost everywhere. The only places in Europe, I actually don't know if there's anywhere else in Europe that does. If they do, it's going to be like a small island. I mean, obviously Ireland does, the same as Britain too.
Yeah.
In Asia, Japan does, Singapore does, Hong Kong does. I want to say Thailand does, but I can't remember. I think some of the countries in the Middle East, it's variable. Obviously Australia and New Zealand do. There are a few here and there, like South Pacific Islands that do. I don't know about countries in Africa that do or don't. I have a feeling South Africa does, but I don't know. I also don't know about the Caribbean, because there's some places in the Caribbean where I think they do, and there's other places where they don't. And I think there may be a few places in South America where they do, but I genuinely don't remember. But I will say here, like that's the thing with the Hilux, is it would be a foreign import anyway. I could probably find one, but I don't want a pickup truck anyway, because I got a kid. What do I fucking need it for?
I'm not thinking for you. I'm thinking for me.
Well, what the fuck are you going to do with it? You come to Switzerland and drive it? You'd be like, sorry, babe.
Maybe.
I'll leave you and the kid home for the weekend, and I'm going to fly 9 hours from whatever to get over here so I can whip ass on Swiss roads,
Yeah, we're going to go whip some shitties all over Geneva. We're going to do donut. We're going to go up to Den Haag and do donuts in front of Duterte.
Oh, Rodrigo Duterte's detention cell. I mean, to be honest with you, dude, if you want to whip shitties in Geneva, you need to get like a scooter or like a low displacement motorcycle or one of those electric plug-in razor scooters, because people just whip it nonstop on those things here. Like folks get on the bus and the train with like hauling their electric razor scooters and then take them to just zip off into the distance. Like it's such a thing here.
God, that's such, I wish that like we just had better infrastructure, because I have taken like the little rental scooters around the neighborhood. I had to drop a car off like a year ago, and the body shop that we take it to is like a mile and a half away. And I'm one of those people who like, if something is like a mile and a half away, I have no problem walking that distance. Like it's whatever, especially if it's nice out.
Yeah,
but
you're not Eric Erickson.
Right. I walk like I was in Las Vegas last week, and I was looking for a dispensary because I'm hopelessly addicted to weed, of course. But the dispensaries like on the strip all suck. But if you walk off the strip, you can find some really good ones and really cheap weed too. Vegas has got real cheap stuff. But I had to walk to get there, and it was a good like mile and a half. And it was off the strip, but like, daytime, and it was Sunday, and I'm a middle-aged white guy, so I don't worry too much about my safety. But yeah, I had to walk. So I had to hoof it from one place to another, and that's never bothered me. But the electric scooter, though, was a fantastic addition. Just to like grab that, and you just kind of push yourself, and then it goes, and then it just keeps going, and you don't have to like really work at it.
That was what got me to buy an electric assist bike. Was actually I was recovering from COVID, because like the actual COVID symptoms when I had it weren't that bad. I'd had both vaccines and a booster at that point. But then like, and I'm kind of dealing with this now with RSV too. Like it was a while before I really felt like I had all of my energy back. And what I found was that like physical tasks would exhaust me way faster than I was expecting. And I was coming to the studio for something, and the bus was just a nightmare. Like got off the train on the overground as close as I could get to the studio, and I would have had to take a bus that normally would take like maybe 10 minutes, and it was going to be like an hour. I mean, it was like a parking lot, and I was just like, man, fuck this. I'm not dealing with this. And I saw the rental bikes, and I was like, well, I think these ones are like power assist. I've seen people like zipping along on them, and I tried one, and I was like, because I hadn't ridden a bike. Basically, I got in a bike wreck that January. I sprained my wrist. I got a concussion, and then I got COVID in February. And so this would have been like April or end of April of 2022. And I started going and I felt that motor kick in and I was like, holy shit, this fucking rules. This is incredible. So yeah, like that was the thing. I went out and I got a electric power assist bike and I still have it here. It's wonderful. I love it. That as like, okay, I mean, it's not like the pure fitness kind of shit. Like if you're doing it for a workout, like it's obviously going to dampen the amount of working out. But I mean, I rode a single speed bike in London for years, not a fixie, but a single speed to and from the studio was like, it was like 11 miles round trip. I think it was 5.5 miles each way. And there were times when I was covering down when the entire cast got COVID. And so no one could do fulfilling orders and I had to get them fulfilled before Christmas, where I was there. Like I remember 2 weeks in a row where I rode in and rode back 5 days a week. So 10 days total of doing 11 miles each day on a single speed bike. And it's like, it's not hilly where I was, but there are some uphills as well as downhill. You know what I mean? And I was so fucking smoked. And I was just like, man, I'm not training. This isn't like my physical fitness training plan, like rain or shine, good or bad, whatever it is. Like I can't adapt my workout. I just have to commute this way. And I'm doing it this way because otherwise public transit, it takes like an hour each way. And also would cost me like £8 a day round trip tickets. So I was like, I just, this isn't fun. Like it's making me in good shape, but it's also like really exhausting me. And so finally I got this bike and it's like a 9-speed with a hub gear and a power assist. And I was like, it's so, also I had been riding like DIY bikes for like a decade, man. I'd been riding bikes that I'd built myself, which are fine, but like I used not expensive parts. There weren't any luxury parts. You know what I mean? It was caliper brakes. It was regular, regular shifters with cables and stuff like that. And, the shifting via, if it had a shifter, the brake cables were, just all that stuff it was done very, very low tech. And so getting on something where like you just let off the pedal a little bit and you click a thing on the handle and it shifts the gear, having actual disc brakes, like it doesn't have a suspension, but it's got like built-in lights and stuff. So you can trigger all that stuff with the button on it. Like it's just so nice having a bike that's like well built that functions. And I remember the first time like people stepped out in front of me when they didn't have the right of way and I had to brake for them. And like I almost flew off my bike because the brakes were so good. And I was so used to having to fucking pull and just being like, oh God, am I going to be able to ride these brakes and swerve around to miss something? Because my old bike, like it was fine.
Yeah.
But, and also like it has wider tires. So I've never had the problem ever again of like taking a corner and it's wet and I just slip and lose traction. So man, we were talking about scooters and I'm talking about e-assist bikes, but like, I'm just saying.
I mean, hearing you talk about it and also hearing Joe talk about it, Joe being hugely bike pilled, it really like, it's annoying that American bike technology seems to be so far behind because like you have a bike and it's I have never seen a bicycle that is different than the bicycles that I grew up with. Like we had some new kids just move into the neighborhood. I saw them out on their bikes. Their bikes are exactly like the bikes that I used to have. There's no like technological, there's nothing better about them. And in Europe, it sounds like you guys understand that the bike is not a thing that's just like, I'm going to get this and I'm going to exercise. I'm going to be a bike guy and I'm going to put on the spandex and have the little tiny water bottles that are attached to me. And I'm going to have the moisture wicking shirt that's got 17 brands all over it and whatever. Because that's like a very American way of looking at bicycling.
But that's also like extremely like Tour de France Peloton guys here.
But I see that shit all the time.
That exists here a ton. It's just that there is, it's weird. Like I think I didn't see this in Britain because biking in Britain, or at least in Greater London, even though they've put in bike infrastructure, is still really aggressive and combative. And so it's not really universal. Like when you'd see families out like commuting with kids on bikes, you're like, y'all some brave motherfuckers. And here it's just not the case. And so because of that here, I see so many different kinds of bikes that I'd never seen even in Britain, like big cargo bikes, like the like big cargo bikes for like the male, like practically scooters, bikes, electric things, or like almost like some bikes that practically look like ATVs with like miniature, like not a Tricon, but like imagine a small shipping container style looking thing where they can pallet load stuff onto a trailer on an electric bike, and that's how they get it because like they can mount the curb and they can go places cars can't, and so they use them for deliveries, especially for the mail. Lots of parents driving kids with like either front or back attachment parts on their bike, like little seats that have covers and stuff.
Yeah, we got those. I see those all.
But like in traffic on the roads everywhere, you also see like something that I'd never seen seen before is big electric bikes that are big enough that they actually can be kitted out to have a rear seat, like where there's a full seat and footrests above the wheel and like straps and stuff. And you see kids, like parents taking kids places, but we're talking like double digits age kids riding on these things. Like they are it's kind of functioning like the way that you could in developing countries, you see families getting around on motorcycles. It's like that. And it's just because it's convenient and the technology exists here. And like, so people complain because it's obviously worse here than in other cities in parts of the country, but you also can do it and not worry as much about having it get stolen immediately the way you do in, unfortunately, the United Kingdom, where like it's a police state where crime is legal. And so like, if you have a bike like that, like, and even if you have a locked storage room in your building, like good luck. I know people who've had their shit stolen out of stuff like that, but it felt like for a while there, every week, every month, certainly there'd be some new viral video of like, I'm just out in broad daylight in Canary Wharf and some guys have rolled up with an angle grinder and they're just cutting locks off bikes and stealing them. Like that's here. Why would you buy one of these electric bikes that are going to cost you? I mean, we're talking like into the $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 range because like they're built to last and they have they're big and are ruggedized, have parts that have to be durable. The motors are expensive. Like if someone buys this, like they're going to be using it for years. You know, it's not quite a car price, but it's close. Like it's getting into the range where it's not like a toy or a fun activity. Like it's an essential thing.
Oh, here's like, yeah, I can see that. Here's a tricycle, electric tricycle that's got a little basket in the back. It's, you know, under $1,000. That's not too bad.
Also, it depends too where you're buying it. The one thing I'd say too is that like the parts themselves aren't that expensive, and also like you can definitely buy stuff for cheaper than what I've just quoted. I will say that if you go to a bike shop in Switzerland, this probably doesn't come as a surprise, that while you can definitely get electric bikes cheaper than what I've described, when you start looking into the things that are like big enough to hold like multiple kids in like a carriage, or like big enough to have like the cargo, what they call panniers, and then like the seat in the back and stuff, we're getting into thousands of dollars.
Yeah. It's the difference between you're buying the $900 Oldsmobile that's got some lights on versus, you know, the minivan that I just bought that's in really good shape. You know, you can buy something that's cheap and will get you from point A to point B. But as soon as you start becoming a more responsible adult, I guess, and have to do some real commuting, you got to update your electric
bike. There's a new Renault electric car that looks sick as hell. I think it's the R5, but it's brand new. It's like a throwback to, what's it called? Like a car that was really popular, I want to say, in like the 80s and 90s and stuff. Yes.
Oh, yeah. It looks, I'm looking at the original version of it. It's got that. It looks like a Mr. Bean car. Like this looks like let me give you the website right now, Francis, of what it looks like now, because they've just released a new one and people have really, like, as an electric car, as a city car goes, like it's been really, really highly received, just because of like well received, because it kind of solves some of the problems of electric cars in terms of distance and space and stuff. Like they've been going through enough generations of it that now that like I think they fixed a lot of the mistakes that were the problem before. Also, it's like mega customizable. You can get like different versions of it, but to put it into perspective, it would be very difficult for me to get because they're brand new. I don't want to buy a brand new car. It would be very difficult, even in the very base model, to get one for less than the equivalent. I mean, about 28,000 francs, which unfortunately the dollar's gotten a lot weaker, so it's like that's probably closer to like $35,000. But like there was a time when it was probably closer to 30,000. I am not interested in the amount of time setting money aside to save up to pay cash for that amount of money for a car. Like I'm not comfortable paying more than half of that cash, and probably less if I have to, because it still represents like saving for, you know, a year, and then also potentially like that's also money that you set aside in case there's emergencies and stuff. And so I don't want to buy an older car. I kind of loving the Twingo is kind of a joke. I don't really care that much. What I actually want is an R5, but I'm not buying a new fucking brand new car. It's not happening. No, especially not if I have to pay cash. It's sick as hell, dude. Honestly, like yeah. For the Americans, imagine it looks like a Mini Cooper. It's kind of got that same shape. It looks cooler than a Mini Cooper, but it's still got that same size and shape.
There's that little electric Honda that they kitted out recently, the little Honda like subcompact, and that's what I would describe it as, kind of like it's in the realm of that, yeah, sort of like, I don't know if you ever saw them, but the 70s and 80s Hondas and Toyotas were really, really cool, man. They were such cool little subcompacts. Like some of them were literally like you couldn't buy them in Colorado because they couldn't operate at that high of an elevation. Like that's the level of what we're talking about in these old ass cars. And that style, I mean, one of the reasons why you can't have cars that small anymore in general is because they've added a lot of safety things that save lives. So you kind of need it. There are some like super compact car companies here in Switzerland and in Europe, but I don't want to drive a smart car. Like if I need a car to be able to at some point fold down the seats to go to the hardware store, and like doing that with a smart car, it feels like I'm going to have a fucking bandsaw like between my legs as I'm driving.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
You're going to have a chainsaw over your left ear. That's not a place where you want a chainsaw. Yeah, that. I was looking at $35,000 for this.
Opening up the smart car and the back window and hanging the 2x4s out the back of it with a little red flag so he doesn't fucking hit it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's stupid. I'm not doing that. So yeah, I've thought about this for a while, and like I think eventually I'm going to, but like there hasn't been a huge impetus, and there's also some things where there's other like house life admin things I have to take care of. I did do some big time dad tasks not that long ago. I think since our last recording. I don't know if I told you about this.
No, what'd you do?
So I have a bunch of old of posters that are all the same size that I've had framed. I had them framed like a long time ago. They are, if you're familiar with this stuff, for a very long time, I think even to this day, but certainly well into the 90s and 2000s, in Poland, there's such a strong industry of graphic design that like when Hollywood movies would be released, they wouldn't release the Hollywood movie posters. They'd have Polish artists make posters, especially before the end of the Cold War. And so movies that would have your garden variety kind of airbrushy comic art or photo art or whatever style in America would have just absolutely fucking bonkers cool looking posters. And I was like, the first time I saw them, I'm like, these are insane. These are genuinely incredible. And like, I didn't know at the time that Poland's got a very, very strong, very established graphic arts and design tradition for things like advertising posters. And so I bought a bunch, and they're all the same size. So, you know, I probably had them framed like 18, 20 years ago. I think I was having them framed like once I was in the army and I had enough money to like go to fucking Hobby Lobby or Michael's and have them framed at the frame shop. So they're all the same size, and with some adjustments to the cables, they can more or less, the amount of space you have to mark against, basically from like the top of the frame to the top of the hanging cable, you know, there's going to be a little bit of a standoff there, like 10 centimeters, 20 centimeters, something like that. But basically, what I'm saying is that it's more or less the same, and you can make adjustments on this. So you've effectively got 6 big posters that all have to hang on a wall, and there's enough space for them, and you want to have the justification, the spacing of them more or less the same, like not enough to be visually just like unsettlingly not balanced. So what that basically means is you have to figure out the space and the space of each one and where it's going to fit, and then drill holes and make sure they're all the same height and the right position. And what I found was the easiest way to do this was to measure off the space and then get the point that I wanted for the first one, more or less. I break down the total wall space, like cut it down into divide it by 6, figure out what the total space was, take the center point of that total sort of unit of space per one, put the first one in, and then basically I think it was like 80 centimeters. And it was like, okay, well then I'm going to measure off 80 centimeters, put it in the center of this, and then from that, and then basically segment out 80, 80, 80, 80, and keep putting these things in the middle, because like that'll leave the spacing that I needed. This is hard to describe in words, but what I'm basically saying is imagine one long line on the wall, and there's a space you've measured out on the wall where the pictures are going to basically, like, this is where they're going to hang between. It's roughly 480 centimeters. And so you measure out 80, 80, 80, all the way, get six of those, and you have to put a hole in the center point in each one, and then hang the thing, and then make sure it's hanging correctly, adjust the cables and whatnot. I used the laser level to get the first one level, get the first one positioned, and then once I had the hole drilled and I'm like, okay, this is where it needs to be, I took the picture off, so I just had the hole and the anchors, the hollow wall anchor and the screw, got the laser level up to with that line, and then shot that line horizontally all the way across the wall, and then just basically worked my way down and measured out, okay, 80 centimeters of this segment, here's the center point, and then drilled it, got it, hung it up, made sure it hung correctly, it was parallel, everything looked right, took it back down again, and then kept doing that, and took me like an hour to hang 6 pictures, and they're completely level, completely like justified space-wise exactly how they need to be. It fit within the space I wanted. I don't have any fucked up holes. I didn't have to redo anything. It was hollow walls, 2 layers of plasterboard, so I just used a regular power drill. I didn't have to use the SDS drill. And then, yeah, just basically was that, measurements, drill it, use a vacuum vacuum cleaner to clean all the detritus and clean out the hole that way, tap the anchor in, screw it in. I measured how many like visible threads would be on the screw for it to be more or less the same distance outward on each one. And like I've accrued a lot of experience doing this from just making mistakes and doing it the wrong way. This is going to sound really dumb and funny to all you out there, but it was actually a revelation to me when I realized like, oh wait, if it's slightly off, you can just untie the cable knots and slightly adjust the hanging cable so it is the correct, because I always like, oh fuck, each one's got its own special measurements. Like, no, you don't actually have to do it that way.
Yeah, you can adjust other bits.
You have to realize that when I was paying to people to frame my pictures, this was back in the day where like the concept of I mean, aside from like sanding and staining, because my dad had taught me to do that as a kid, the concept of anything else when it comes to like tools and assembly of stuff was like fully foreign language. I was like, that's magic. That's wizardry. That's stuff you have to go to mage school for. You know, that's stuff better left to the professionals. And it's like, nah, dude, it's literally fucking steel cable tied in like, you know, an overhand hitch and then some what's it called? Like couple of like safety hitches with just loops of cable put through two, you know, eyelet anchors on two eyelets. Yeah, that's it. And so, yeah, having done that, I was just like, man, this is crazy. While my daughter was at the play area with her childminder, I had quiet in the house. It was before she was going to have lunch and have her nap. And yeah, it took me like 60 minutes from starting once I had all my tools and stuff set up to being done. And like the laser level, like, I don't know, it was kind of expensive. I bought like a really good one. So I want to say I probably paid like $500 for the laser level. It's basically another tool that's a laser. It's a cross cut it like a right angle. It's meant for tile work, but I can use it for woodworking as well. And then a tripod and the extension legs in the bag and stuff that it came with. So that all in all was like $500. But as much as it felt like I am in just ultra dad mode, stupid overkill, this is not necessary, it's the best thing I think I've bought since I got here in terms of tools. Like the SDS drill, it's kind of like that's, I don't count that because it's kind of a necessity. Like we have slab concrete walls and you just cannot drill. Like you will spend hours wasting your time and driving your neighbors nuts and exhausting yourself and damaging your drill using a regular power drill for that. Even a hammer drill, it's just too solid. Whereas an SDS drill is just, it's done. But yeah, man, this laser level thing, like it does. So it's, you know, it's self-ballaancing. It has an alarm if it's off, if it's unbalanced. It's got like a tripod thing you can do with like a foot stand to hold it up individually, or you have like a monopod or a tripod configuration. And basically you set it up kind of like a video camera rig, like we've done on tripods. You get it to the elevation you want, and then you engage a lock. And then once it stops, you know, wobbling and it gets level, it self-levels. And if it's not level or something's disturbed, it starts beeping at you. And you can do horizontal and vertical. And I've got enough poles that you could probably do like fucking 30 feet in the air with it if you need. I don't know why you'd need to. But one thing people also use these for is make fun of me out there in listener land if I say this wrong. I think the turn of phrase here is to plumb a wall or to plumb a ceiling. Not plumbing like piping, but like shooting a line so that when you install like wood or metal studs for like interior construction, frame construction, like building walls, doorways, that kind of thing, when you have to have a pipe or a wooden stud or a metal stud that has to shoot straight from the floor to the ceiling, like you have to make sure that it's hitting, you know, it's not bending or at an angle in any way. Like when you're building, think about this when you're like framing inside a house, inside a building. You see, you track what I'm saying? Like that's one of the reasons why they use these laser levels as well, is to shoot a plumb line up and down so that like it's just much easier to make sure that like when you're installing studs or whatever, that it's completely perpendicular. I think that is the right word here. And so this is technically, I mean, the brand I got it from, it seems like they sell this kind of construction stuff, but also like geological survey tools. So like I also, my little cross right angle one literally comes in like a fanny pack with the brand on it. It says Swiss Geo level on it. I'm like, I'm never going to wear this, but it's cool as shit. Got to get like a high-vis suit. So I guess it's one of those things where like part of me felt like a big goofus buying the like specialty tool, but I'd used them before, like used laser levels before. And I'm like, these are actually pretty good. And then now having used it this way, I'm like, I cannot go back. The only problem, which is very funny, is I have to do it with the blinds closed because the laser is so powerful. It will shoot out the windows and it could possibly bother the neighbors. not like immensely like
the
like
other side of this wall is actually 40 meters away.
It's not. Well, it's not. It doesn't have a measurement tool on it. I mean, you can get laser measuring things, but what I basically use it for is just to shoot a horizontal or vertical, level line. And oftentimes, what you can do is just use that as like a baseline and then take measurements off it. But oftentimes I use the horizontal one. Like when I'm installing shelves, one of the things that I found is really great about it is I can actually get the level. I can get it set up in a way where I can use it to level off a shelf board, with the anchors. So I actually did that too. I installed a shelf in my daughter's room. And then once you've got the first one done and it's correct and it's leveled, you can then also use the horizontal or the vertical level lines to line up the brackets so they're completely in line with each other, and then just repeat the process. Like, it just makes doing it so much easier. Like, I know there's people that are just full on samurai with it, like with the manual tools. And I suppose over the years I've made so many mistakes that I've at least learned how to be passably okay at it. But my God, dude, having something that just makes that part of the job easier, I don't want to go back. And I've done it manually so many times, dude. I set up 2 sets of like a one long horizontal span of shelves where it was 2 separate shelf boards, 4 brackets total. And it was in London in our studio in a setup that was so annoying because it was both a hollow wall and a solid wall. It was single skin plasterboard and then like a air gap and then concrete. And so the size of the anchors you'd need to hold up a shelf with that much weight or big enough, they had to enter into the concrete as well. And so what I wound up having to do was drill with a regular power drill through until we hit concrete. Because if you put the SDS drill through plasterboard with nothing behind it, it will shred the fuck out. It will completely destroy it. It's too much torque on the plaster. So you had to go through the plaster with a regular drill and then come in with when you hit the concrete, then hit it with the SDS drill, go all the way in, tap the stuff in, do that. So it was 3 holes per bracket and it was 4 brackets. So it's 12 of these holes. And the way that I realized this, and this is probably elementary, but I'm going to do my best to describe it in words and maybe this will help you someday. If you want to set up a span of shelves and you need to do multiple brackets, multiple boards, but they're going to be parallel with one another, like side by side. And the idea is to have one uninterrupted span of shelf. The way that I have learned to do it that has worked for me is make sure that your measurements are correct. And so where you're going to position it will make sense. And then install the first one, left or right. It doesn't matter. 1, 2 brackets, put it in. Then what you can do is once that's level, you can then move in the next bracket, and take a measurement off of where you've got the previous one, bring the board more or less, it's much easier with 2 people, but you can do it on your own. Get the third bracket in position and then slide the board so it's on one of the brackets that's already fixed into the wall that you know is leveled, and then get it level with the new one that way. Get that bracket installed so you now have a sort of like intermediate shelf board, but that's not going to be the permanent position. It's like if you think of it left to right or right to left, you have 4 brackets. Your shelf is currently, you leveled it off in the beginning between bracket 1 and 2. Now you've got it on 2 and 3. You install bracket 3, you get that shelf level, even though that's not going to be the final position. Then do it again on bracket 4, move it over, then put both boards in. And so now you've leveled it basically 1 and 2 as a set piece, then 2 and 3, then 3 and 4. And when you put the boards through, you should notionally, if you've done it right, have one long stretch where as long as the board, wherever the board is, as long as it's touching and being supported by 2 brackets, it's going to be level and at the same elevation. Doing it I was like, I don't know if that's like elementary, interior carpentry shit. And I just invented it from first principles because I'm a moron. But doing it that way saved me so much time once I figured it out. And it's just like, it's just common sense that I probably wouldn't have had when I was younger, because I would have been like, no, there must be a really, really complicated and annoying way to do this. And I just do it wrong.
Yeah, I have noticed that as I've gotten older, because I'm terrible at, for a long time, I was terrible at drilling holes and making any kind of cut. And I think what it came down to is I just didn't understand how the hole drilling and the cutting works. So like now I'm at the same place because I've done what you're describing, where you're just like, I need to have like 4 brackets. So I'm going to get 2 put in and I'm going to make sure that these 2 are level. And then I can put the board, like you're saying, put the board on top. It's flat. Now I know where everything, the next bracket goes because I can.
And then you just slide it over and get it level. And you can, even if you're doing it solo and you can't hold the board, have someone hold the board in place, you can at least get it in position, put a level on top of it, watch it, look to when it's actually where it needs to be, and then mark your holes where you're going to start putting the holes for the bracket where you have to drill to install the next bracket. I'll also say this is something I've learned, and maybe there's geniuses out there who are fucking super great at it who don't have to do this. In my experience, if you were installing a shelf bracket, you will save yourself a lot of heartache if you take your measurements, you get it where you need it to be, you take your first hole, mark it, drill, put the anchor in, then put the screw in with the bracket, tighten it to where you want it to be, and then make sure it's level, and then check the next hole, like, because it's chances are good, maybe you did it perfectly, but chances are good there's going to be just enough of a shift or some give there that because of like it moving and the drill maybe not being ultra like laser targeted precise, that when once you got that hole in place, if you marked, say, all 2 or all 3 holes for that bracket and drilled them all in advance, it's entirely possible they'd be just too far apart. There'd been just a little bit of movement. And it's so fucking annoying when that happens, because you can either finagle it with the tightness of the screws and kind of trying to force it, because at that point, if it's just a tiny little measurement, there's basically no way to pull it out and drill a new hole without making just a great big ass mess. And what I've discovered is the real solution for me has been start on the first one, get the measurements and do like an outline with a pencil of where you think the hole's going to be, but then check it again once you've got the, because it's good if you do it that way to mark 2 or 3, however, to begin with, because assuming that you've got it lined up and you're leveling it and maybe you're holding a level in place, like marking those holes is a good like idea for position of, is it close to where it was when you shot your measurements? Because if you're doing it, you're like face up in it, and you might wind up setting it in a way where it's crooked or it's not level or whatever. With a laser level, obviously, if you just have the line shot constantly, you can hold it against it. But what I'm saying is, instead of drilling 2 or 3 at once, drill 1, install it. It's annoying to have to unscrew it and take it off again. But if you do it that way, chances are good all of the anchors and screws, however many you need, will seat exactly straight in like they need to, and then you'll actually get the benefit of all of the kind of there's a like a physics term for how much like an anchor can hold, like shear, what I don't know what it is, but basically like you are now your bracket has the best chance of being completely flush, completely level, and you're being able to actually support the rated weight, as opposed to it being kind of crooked and it's just like it's messed up, and it might not be level, it might wobble. It's especially with
things are going to roll off,
especially with hollow walls, number one. And then obviously with unfinished brick surfaces, because sometimes with unfinished brick, there's nothing you can do. You have to put something to flatten it because it's just too wobbly. But doing it that way, as annoying as it is, has saved me, because I used to be like, I'm really good, and I'm really good with a drill, and I can absolutely get my measurements correct, and I just drill, and I'm good to go. And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't. There's no guarantee that the anchor is going to seat exactly. There's no guarantee that your drill hasn't wobbled a little. There's no guarantee that even though you definitely hit your spot, that like it didn't just pivot just a little bit off. And as a result, like that tiny measurement can make the difference between you having it seat perfectly or you try to install it and you can't get your second or third screw all the way into the anchor and flush because it's starting to bend because it's at an angle. And you can force it and strip the screw or fuck up the anchor or have a wobbly shelf board, a lot of problems, or you just take it one at a time. Like maybe the pros sound off if you know how to do this. I don't. I'm just saying this has worked for me, and it stopped me from being, hey babe, I'm going to install a shelf. It should take me like 90 minutes. And then like 6 hours later, I'm just going to fuck the entire wall up. That has happened to me before. I have learned by being an idiot. So like let my experience be your guide.
Yeah, but the only way you're really going to learn is to be an idiot yourself. So
the only way you're really going to learn is when you create a compass from first principles, because you've got a wall anchor that's completely fucked up and you're trying to pull it out and you can't, and you're twisting it and the bracket is scraping the wall and you're creating these perfect, like absolutely perfect circles because you've literally got, a compass and like a sort of like a fixed point and the rotating point that way. I have you do not want to do a shelf installation that also then requires replastering and repainting the wall. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I've luckily managed to avoid that. I do need to take a Sawzall to the wall of my office though, because I've got a small window and I need a much larger window. So I'm not looking forward to that whole cleanup mess. But I have at least like when I hang up art in here, and luckily this office is all it's just all sheetrock, so it's real easy to hang anything up. And I know where all the studs are because because the drywall is done in a way that's so bad that I know where all the studs are. Look, like I said, you always need your first one. You need to do it your first time, and you need to fuck it up royally so that next time you know how to not fuck it up. So if you always fuck stuff up, just fuck your stuff up and understand when it's time to call somebody else. Because I've been there.
There's this tool that we found. I have no idea where it came from, but we found it at the TF studio, and I know we didn't buy it, and so I just don't know if somebody left it. But the best way I could describe it is, so it's like a little mini hand, like a thumb drill. It's a drill on like an axle, basically. It mounts a drill bit. It's not meant for anything heavy duty, and it's got like a slider that goes up and down. And basically, what you can do is, like, forgive the vulgarity of the term here, you effectively like take your thumb and forefinger and jack off this little thing. But what it does is it basically lets you work a very small drill bit like a hand drill, right? I've used that thing to such incredible effect when I'm drilling wood screws into hardwood to drill a guide hole, because like that's what
pilot holes are how you not, as you were describing earlier, when you drill a hole and it's slightly off and it fucks up your whole thing. Yeah. The pilot hole.
I believe that then the term for this is probably like a pilot hole drill or a pilot hole cutter, but I'd never seen one before. We just happened to have one, and like, because obviously most of the time with wood screws you can just put a screwdriver bit in a regular power drill and you can drive it in. But like when you're, for example, doing brackets under a table and you have to be upside down and drilling upside down, also definitely where I pro for that, because fuck me, getting sawdust in your eyes is annoying.
Yeah. And also with the drill is like, I mean, it's not heavy, but like, again, you're at a weird angle.
And chances are good, if it's the first hole that you're drilling, you're probably having to hold the bracket or whatever the thing is in place too. So it's like, there's just so many things that can be annoying about it, that just taking that little extra time to drill the pilot holes, especially for the really sharp, really small wood screws, where like once you get it going, it's great, but like there's not a ton of surface area that's penetrating the wood. And like we have these tables that we salvaged from a business that went defunct that are butcher block. So like the wood's, it's getting through into the wood takes a little bit of force. And so, yeah, like little things like that, man. Pilot holes.
This little hand drill is nice. I need to get me one.
I'm telling you, it's just a thing that I saw it, and I was like, I remember somebody finding it and be like, what is this for? And I was like, oh shit, I bet you I know what I could use that for. And it's been absolute godsend. Francis, do we have any Ask a Dad questions?
Yeah, we've got some questions here. This one is probably really relevant to you with the tiny one. Do you have any tricks for keeping stuff put away, especially with kids in the house? Now, I say this, you probably, with the little one, mine's 9 years old and is constantly taking stuff out and strewing it across the living room and having to clean up after it. So, I mean, personally, I'm a very cluttered person. So, like, no, put things away as best you can. Like, I try to keep the kitchen clean. That's my domain. But, our daughter reads, like, 10 books a day. So she's constantly getting books and reading them and leaving them out. So, I mean, really, the only advice I have is keep up on it, because otherwise you're going to get buried under your own clutter.
What I would say is, so, I mean, obviously there's a part of me that like, we kind of had to accept that there's a lot of space that's going to be taken up by organizers for toys, as opposed to like stuff that we might want for our own stuff, because it's just what we've got. We have a little kid and we want to like maintain a certain degree of sanity. So there are a couple of things, and IKEA is pretty universal, and a lot of the stuff that we've got is from IKEA. So what we got was basically like a toy cabinet sort of thing, where it's like tubs and drawers, like slide out tubs, basically, like and there's rails and plastic tubs. There's some big ones and some small ones, and we keep her toys in there. And we also have these other ones that are like they're kind of like a little frame tent shelf with, like, imagine a shelf, but it also looks like a tent, and it's got like canvas shelves and a frame and like little portholes and like netting and stuff. And we put a lot of the toys in those. And then what we do is, I mean, honestly, when she goes to bed or when she's taking a nap, we just put the stuff back. We put it back, and everything's got like a place that it goes, like not like obsessively, but there's drawers. Stuffed animals are going to go in the little shelf tenty thing. Some things are going to go out on top like she's got a little toy kitchen, the kitchen stuff goes there. And just do it every night before she goes to bed. There's just, or when she's napping, sometimes I just have to, like, there are times of days when it looks like, like we just failed an earthquake drill and all of our shit's everywhere. But over time, people have asked me, because I'll post, photos of, the living room and stuff sometimes, like, how do you keep it organized? And it's like, honestly, we've just gotten into the habit of just putting it away every night. And also we had the benefit of, we moved here she was almost a year old, and we had a brand new space to kind of like coordinate. And we just sort of figured, okay, one of the biggest things that we noticed before in London was where we didn't have space, like to organize things. There weren't, because there's a lot of built-in storage here, like big closets and stuff, which is super nice. We didn't have any of that. We had none in London. Finding a way so that the stuff isn't cluttered, so things can actually be like put away. And then I don't have a piano. Like I'm about to get one, because by hanging a ton of pictures, I've managed to free up enough space that I now have room like in our bedroom. I won't be able to use it most of the time unless like, it's at times a day when like Cynthia's not asleep, et cetera. But like, it's better than nothing. But for the longest time, I didn't have one because we don't have room. We just don't have room. And like, there are certain things, but I would rather, first of all, I don't want to play a piano and have a piano out where she can play, because I don't want her to potentially pull it on herself or damage it. Like, I'm more worried about her than it, but she's not quite a climber, but she loves tidiness. And sometimes her idea of tidiness is just slamming shit shut randomly. While you're in it, while you're using it, etc.
You're hiding things. That's all putting things away is you're hiding your irregularly shaped things into regularly shaped things.
She has this little push cart thing that she loves, and sometimes we have to put it in another room and close the door because she sometimes just starts doing wheelies on it and banging it against the floor. And thankfully we don't have neighbors like below us. The neighbors is actually like a doctor's office, so there's nowhere there at night. But I'm just like, it's also just annoying for us. It's like, please don't do that. Please stop ghost riding the cart and just slamming the shit out of the floor. Oh God, it's throwing. She's so good at throwing everything everywhere, man. Like I knew about the terrible twos, but I didn't know about the terrible ones. But wow,
it's all terrible.
I mean, I love her to death, don't get me wrong, but like, also I made the comment that before that, I devoted myself to the idea that like, I'm not someone, I do not ever want to be like a corporal punishment, physical punishment kind of parent, just because I don't think it actually works from personal experience.
No, it doesn't.
What I wasn't expecting was how often I was going to get hit by my kid. Oh my God. I'm constantly getting it. Like, I'm like, no, stop, you're not going to hit me, and, put her down, put her again. Oftentimes she'll try and I'll stop her, and then she'll like, give me a kiss. I'm like, well, I appreciate that, but I think the first step is not hitting me, but yeah, like there's an instance in which this is new, and it's like she's got big feelings, and sometimes she gets really mad. She just planks on the floor and starts crying and kicking her feet against the floor, which hurts her feet and makes her madder. And sometimes it's like she's crying on the and kicking her feet and doing all this stuff because she's like, I don't know, you won't let me eat the random bit of muck that got tracked in on the wheels of the stroller, or you won't let me play with the oven when it's on. Like,
she's learning to hate authority. And she's learning to do it correctly. How dare you not let me get my own experiences?
I'm going to tell you one thing that is really cute and really funny, though, because I don't want people to think that it's all bad. Like, it's really not. It's wonderful. It's just, it's a lot. So sometimes she can get very impatient when we're serving dinner. She's hungry, and you try to cool the food down when it's cooked. So like, in the wintertime, I would literally just kind of sneak it outside on a plate and let like the cool air help me with that. But it's warm now. So I would oftentimes, like, if she's being really impatient, I'll just take one bite at a time and I'll blow on it to like cool it off and then give it to her. So she's sometimes like, she'll mimic these gestures. She'll blow on food. She'll blow on my food, even though she's far away from it. Sometimes when she drinks water, she makes an sound. It's just very, very funny. One day I was cooking dinner and I was watching her solo. So, and I had to get in the oven. I think I was cooking like sausages or something. And I told her, I was like, look, hey, I need you to stay back. This is really hot. Like, you can watch, but I need you to stay back. And I was like, no. I kind of held my hand out to hold her. I'm like, you need to stay back. Like, please stay back. And she did. And then she crouched down on the ground, like she was lying on her stomach, looking at the oven when I opened it up. And when she saw it, and she saw like the heating element, and I probably could feel some of the heat coming out of it, she started going like she was blowing on the food. And I was just like, no, babe, we kind of want it to be hot, but I really do appreciate that.
Cooling it down for you, Dad.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. So yeah, that's having a 20-month-old. It's a lot of ups and downs and getting yelled at and getting stuff thrown at me. And
yeah, eventually they get older and they're still going to yell at you. Mine doesn't really throw things, but she does yell at us sometimes, and that's that just doesn't go away. I don't think kids ever stop yelling at you. I don't know. I don't yell at my parents. I never really did, but I was a good kid. My kid sometimes takes more after her mom on some of her stuff.
I mean, I don't yell at my parents now, but and I didn't really. I mean, I really didn't when I was a kid, aside from like call it some extreme circumstances, because there was that wasn't really a thing you were allowed to do as the child in that relationship. We'll just put it that way. So I mean, I think I was pretty good at learning the rules in terms of I was good at knowing that if I wanted to avoid more hassle, I had to not. But I mean, obviously, growing up, your brain not quite mature, probably not until well into actual legal adulthood. And I definitely were some times when I know that there will be things, but as Cynthia and I have said, we hope that if she decides to go to therapy for someday, it'll be for like normal stuff, regular stuff, not the more traumatic variety. So, trying our best.
Yeah. You're gonna fuck your kid up one way or the other, but what matters is, does your kid talk to you, when you're in your 20s? Like, look, my parents inadvertently fucked me up in plenty of ways. Nothing to blame them for, but sometimes you see a movie when you shouldn't have, and there's no way that your parents could have known, and that's fine. That's normal. But it's the I need to talk to a therapist because you've emotionally abused me. That's the problem. You don't want that, but everybody probably should be in some kind of therapy at some point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you are this week that it comes out, if you have not listened to our bonus episode, if you're not over on patreon.com/hellofawayti, Carrie and I are back at it with our Mashcast, but we're taking an interlude where Carrie had me watch an episode of Columbo. So we have a Columbo episode up. We'll get back to MASH, get back to our 1970s dad TV watching that we're doing, but trying to rotate a few things in other than just MASH. So that'll be out. And we've got lots more stuff coming for you. So
also, if you're in the sort of extended universe of things, coming up, there's going to be an episode of Lions Led by Donkeys. We just recorded it on the topic of a conflict called the Pastry War, where I actually wrote the script and hosted it because all the sources were either in French or Spanish. And Joe's like, Nate, do you mind doing this? So my first ever hosting the episode, doing the research, that should be coming out pretty soon. So in the next couple of weeks.
Right on. Well, keep an eye out for all that. You can follow me on Blue Sky at whatahellofawayti.com. And of course, you can get Nate at In These Deserts at Blue Sky, so you can keep up with what we're doing and what we're posting. Nate, I see Nate get on there every once in a while and start doing some flurries of posting, and it's
every
great.
Now and again. Yeah.
You are continue to be one of the better posters that I know. So
that's very kind of you.
We look forward to it. I look forward to reading your posts and then having to look words up.
Oh, well, I mean, now I'm just it's more along the lines of my daughter woke up at 2 a.m. and then she woke up at 6 a.m. and it's me posting the video of Steve Harvey doing what's the show called? The one that he was hosting where he just, it was some game show and he just for some reason goes, yes, sirree, thought about killing myself. It's just like, and then there's a little ding at the end. It's like, man, yeah, I feel that way sometimes. Anyway, thanks so much for listening, everyone. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.